Bruce is going heavy with the base. Here's a look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Dark Father Wave Dark Knight's Death Metal Batman. Following the universe-shattering events of Dark Knight's Metal, the Earth is enveloped by the Dark Multiverse and has transformed into a hellish landscape twisted beyond recognition. Willing to sacrifice his own humanity for the greater good, Batman wields an evil Black Lantern power ring, which grants him the power to resurrect the dead. Now leading an army of zombies and riding a bat cycle made of bones, the Dark Knight wages a war against the Batman who laughs and his omnipotent goddess Perpetua in his mission to save the DC Multiverse. Before we get a closer look at the Dark Knight's Death Metal Batman, the first thing we're going to want to do is figure out how tall the figure stands. Astute viewers will probably recognize that this is in fact the same Dark Knight's Death Metal Batman that we have gotten before, with a few changes of accessories. Stay tuned for that. Of course, like I said though, before we get going with the review, we're going to first take the tape measure right at the very top of Batman's head and stopping it right there. Dark Knight's Death Metal Batman is 7.066 inches in height. Probably didn't have to say all that. The figure is also about 18 centimeters, 17.9 to be exact. Despite my main glaring problem with this figure just being a double dip, ironically enough, I couldn't find the other Dark Knight's Death Metal Batman to bring out and show you guys side to side. But it is pretty much the exact same figure, right down to the same color scheme. Oh boy. But he does come included with, like I said, different accessories. I don't think that's really going to save my opinions in talking about the fact that, yes, we just ultimately got ourselves a double dip of the exact same figure, but at least for some comparisons, even though I don't have that other Batman right for the ready, I can bring in some of the other ones that have technically been double dipped. This is version 2, Batman Who Laughs, which was actually a lot better than the original Batman and not just a carbon copy. And double dipped, we also did get ourselves the Robin King. Double dipped in the sense that the majority of his body was just that reuse from the Robin that we looked at before, so I guess Batman is in good company with other double dipped figures. That being said, let's get a closer look at the figure's accessories. Why don't we get the Dark Father pieces out of the way now? He comes included with the lower legs. I guess the only legs for the figure itself. We can reach off to the black hole, which is now currently over on this side, and bring in the torso piece that came included with Robin King. I'm going to do my best to clamp this all in place now, and I'm going to make sure I'm following the curve. That's the inside of the foot after all. I'm going to first make sure that I bring the underoos high up. This is going to be one of the problems that you may face when getting this figure together. The lower part of the torso slips off very easily. Of course, once the legs are in place, you're not going to have that issue. But we're going to take the legs and snap them in. Snap maybe not being the best word to be using. I'm probably going to take myself a hot water bath. Not me specifically, but I'm probably going to heat, I think, the pegs and peg sockets just so I can get those legs properly in place. So that's what we got so far. Still got arms we need. Still we got the head, and we also need a cape too. That's going to go on the back of the figure. But we are making some progress. We'll just put that off to the side for the time being. Okay, he comes included with a display stand. Normally, this would have been the time that I would have looked and talked about the trading card first, but mix things up a little bit. Keep things fresh and alive on this channel. He comes included with a black display stand that has the DC Familiar logo down below and a singular peg up the top corner there. I don't know why it's always the case whenever I'm doing reviews of these black stands seem to show the little flecks of lint and stuff like that. Comes included with that. Put that to the side, and he also comes included with a trading card. While it may not be the same trading card image on the front, and again they're using the image of the figure instead of the actual source material, you can see that Batman is stringing on the strings of his guitar. The original Batman from Dark Knight's Death Metal didn't actually have this image, so at least they did change things up. However, when you flip it around to the back, it has the very same read-up that the other Batman had as well. Oh boy. Up at the top, you've got, of course, the real name being Bruce Wayne. Height is 6'2", and his weight is 210 pounds. You can freeze this certainly if you want, and you guys want to read it. Or again, if you want to go to the beginning of this review, it's the same read-up that I use at the very beginning as well. So yeah, at least the image is different on the front, but I'm still not keen on the idea that they continue to use figure photography. What's wrong with just the traditional illustrations pulled from the source material? I really don't want images of figures on the fronts of cards. Anyways, I'm going to put that to the side. And let's have a look at the thing that really does make this Batman different from the other one, which in a perfect world could have just stood right here. It's his guitar. The original Batman would have come included with a scythe, and I would encourage all of you guys, if you hadn't had a chance to check out my review of that original Batman Dark Knight's Death Metal, feel free to give that a good gander after maybe this review, and you guys can see him wielding his scythe. But what is different, though, is the fact he does get himself a rather nice-looking guitar. Something that I'm sure would make Gene Simmons rather envious. You can see it's got a big, long blade on the end of it. It is all basically done in red plastic with only just a few little pieces actually colored in. Like, for example, the knobs on the bottom are painted in black. A few, I guess, a light show, perhaps. Little lights on the top of the guitar. And at the very top, you can see a rather interesting looking face there with the tongue sticking out. Wait a minute, is this Gene Simmons' guitar? That looks like it would be his. I do also like the fact that the tuning adjustments are on the top are in a different, darker color. You've got almost like an area that looks like it could be an eye. Maybe it's the top crest of this face. Unfortunately, though, I will say, and as much as I could really praise this figure, and I really think that there's positive merits to be made for this figure, I really sang the praises when we looked at this figure the first time around. I really don't think that this is certainly the argument to be made as to why you would want to get this figure a second time. If anything, I would have said that McFarlane Toys, when releasing the Dark Knight's Death Metal Batman, should have released him as a variant. Released him as the single card, no attachment at all to Dark Father, and gave you either the option of picking up the Dark Knight's Death Metal Batman with the guitar that you're currently seeing in my hand, at least for the time being, and maybe give us the variant that came included with the scythe. Then, for those that are really interested in getting the variations to the figure, could have picked up more than one just to have the different accessories. I feel like it's almost a bit of a cheat to include this figure as a requirement in order to get the Dark Father figure built, because when initially we picked up the Dark Knight's Death Metal Batman, we didn't know this figure was going to be released again, just with a different guitar, a different accessory, and of course the much needed build pieces to build a figure, which is in this case Dark Knight's Dark Father. Can we get that out? So I'm overall happy with the fact he does come included with the guitar, but I really don't feel like I needed to pick up a second one of these figures just to get different accessories and getting, of course, the build-a-figure components for Dark Father, which he's currently sitting off to the side. If you do want to take the guitar and put it obviously in his hand, because it would make no sense at all of him just, not having it, just clip it into the hand like so. Kind of have to wedge it. He's got a very tight grip. If it helps at all, you can certainly heat up the hand, but you can get it in there. And then you can have, well, I guess you can have Batman either having it from the bottom, there we go, like this. That looks awkward. Just like this, like that. Or I'm probably going to have him displayed with kind of his arm up like this, like he's ready to strung something loud. Again, just clamp that into his hand like that. There we go. Does it look cool? Yes, it does. I'm not going to deny the fact that that's a pretty neat look for Batman, of having him with a big demonic-looking guitar like this. But again, I asked myself the question, did I really need a second figure to do this? That being said, the other accessory I kind of wished he could have come included with was maybe a swappable hand that had a little pick to it. I mean, it kind of looks like he's got the proper grip to hold a little pick, but obviously if they had included a little tiny pick, that would have been lost just like that. Instead, if they had given us at least a swappable hand that would have had a little tiny pick inside. I'm actually considering if I can find something small enough, maybe just made in plastic, I'm going to make myself a little tiny plastic chip, like a little triangular clip. I'm going to fit that right in between his thumb and his pointer finger. And yes, then I'm going to have Batman looking like he's about to... That's a terrible impression. So let's go ahead and remove the guitar, the sole thing that makes this guy unique, and put it to the side. Short of me spending the next 15 minutes talking about the things I like about this figure, because again, it covers off all the same territory that we looked at before when we looked at this Batman. Let's just say I like this Batman head sculpt. I like the body. I love the fact he does have the softer, pliable plastic trench coat, which of course you can see it from all sides here. Got a nice split up the middle, which again is all stuff I talked about before. Is it a good looking Batman? It is. Is it Batman again? We need a second version of it? I would say no. I would say no. Going again back to his head sculpt here, you can see he's got the 5 o'clock shadow there at the bottom of his chin. Kind of just looks like they took a brush and just painted the bottom of it. I probably would have brought it up just a little bit higher so it was up to the point of where his cowl opening was. I like that he does have the little squinty eyes going like that. And it's a, you know what? It's a good sculpted cowl too. I like that it's got like personality going for it. Even like little wrinkles there in the corners of his eyes. Of course, when we open this up, I wouldn't really recommend trying to take this off, thinking to yourself, okay, well, if I have two of these, maybe I could just remove the jacket, and then one Batman will have a jacket and the other one will not have a jacket. I thought ahead as well, but unfortunately, you're still going to run into the same problem that he does have the trench coat sleeves still on his arms. You can't get around that, right? So even if you did take this off, and it does seem like you could remove it, there is a peg that looks to be on the back of his torso here, but you probably could just take this right off of his, well, it is also attached to the top of his shoulders here, so maybe that might be a little more trickier than I was expecting. The gauntlet blades are the same color as the other one that we got before, so same silver color. Maybe they could have, again, just added something different to the color scheme here. I mean, I get the idea that Batman could have the gray outfit with the black bat emblem, the black trench coat, the silver gauntlets and all that stuff, but could they maybe have just added blood on this guy? That could be like a bloodied version of this particular Batman. They could have done something different to differentiate this guy from the other. Maybe even added tears, rips and tears into his costume. So it's not literally the exact same outfit. Other things, of course, I appreciate on the original release. Still carries over here as well. You've got the utility belt. Not so much a utility belt. Instead, it looks like he's just collecting skulls. McFarlane certainly loves his skulls. And he's got these softer chains that jet out from two of the connecting skulls on both sides. Again, that looks super sharp and nice. Get a little bit further down. He's still got the bat-shaped knee pads there as well. And, of course, you've got a boot with multiple. I mean, this would take a while, I would imagine, not only to put on, but to then strap shut. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on both sides. I don't know if that would be Velcro. Velcro would certainly make things a lot easier, but he's got it on both sides. And he does also have the blades sticking out from the sides of his boots. So please let this not be a takeaway that I dislike this figure. Quite the contrary. I liked this figure the first time. Getting it a second time around again is a bit of a sting, especially the fact that you have to buy this figure a second go around if it means you want to build yourself the Darkfather. It's not even an avoidable case either. You have to pick up this figure. In other words, if you want to build your Darkfather, because unfortunately there's just no way around it. Let's have a look at the articulation now on Dark Knight's Death Metal Batman. His head rotates, of course, all the way around. You can hinge it up quite a bit, actually, and also down. You have that low, brooding-looking Batman. I like that. And you can also move it back and forth as well. Despite the fact he does have the trench coat, keep in mind, is open on the sleeves, so it doesn't limit then when you want to bring the arms out. And because the hole is big enough, it does leave, yes, a little bit of noticeable gray on the inside when you bring the arms out, but that's only if you see the figure from the side. If you want to display your figure from the side, yeah, then yes, it could probably be a problem. If you're going to look at it from the front, you're not even going to notice it's there. The arms also come forward. You can also bring them back. He has also that socket joint on the inside. You can probably see there as I'm moving the arm forward and back. There's that socket joint. He has a swivel at the bicep. He has a double hinge on the elbow. So I guess if you wanted to, you can also have him carrying around the guitar from behind. That'd be kind of interesting as well. He doesn't have any articulation here. I would have thought that the gauntlet would have been a separate piece, but it seems like they've sculpted it to the rest of the form and simply only just painted that part in silver. So there's no swiveling there. You can, however, swivel the hands all the way around. And you can also hinge them back and forth this way. For Batman's upper torso is on a ball joint. He also has a lower torso crunched ball joint right at the very base of his abdomen here, which is actually hidden rather nicely behind his belt. Then for his legs, you can split his legs out. You can bring them forward. You can bring them back. You swivel at the top there. Actually, he swivels about halfway up the thigh. There's a cut right there that allows the legs to swivel around. You can also see there's somewhat unfinished paint on the inside, but again, those are places that you're not really going to be seeing because, again, they're on the inside, just underneath the flaps of his trench coat. Then for, of course, his legs, he has a double hinge on the knee. There's one, and the other one is just up there. But as you're bending it, you're going to be pricking yourself every single time. These little spikes that stick out from his boots are awfully prickly, not to mention the smaller points pricking you on the inside there. Then for his boots hinge back and forth this way. You can also angle them this way as well. And he does also have toe articulation too. I always feel like I say toe articulation with a lot of exclamation. But anyways, there is Batman from Dark Knight's Death Metal. It's a really hard figure to look at and critique because, again, I feel like I've been there. I've done that. Hey, wait a minute. I have been there. I have done that. Essentially, we're moving into the middle here. Essentially, you're getting the exact same figure again. I know if there probably was a drinking game of me saying that over the course of this review, but you know, really, when it's all said and done, this guitar and this guitar alone probably should have been packed as a variant figure. Get one release of the Batman with the scythe, one figure of Batman with the guitar, and then let collectors choose for themselves which Batman that they wanted to go. I feel, again, it's cheap on their part to force you buying this, and nobody's really forcing you to buy a figure, but certainly build a figure to the times that you really want to get on board a line. And if you've already picked up the Batman Dark Knight's Death Metal before, and then sort of ultimately being forced to buy it again just to simply get the legs for Darkfather, I kind of think that's cheap tactics on their part, releasing a figure that you may already have in your collection. With what seems to be a never-ending stream of new DC Multiverse figures come to us from McFarlane Toys, you would think that a wave that is 4 figures designated to build a Darkfather, they could have easily filled the slot with not another figure that we've already gotten before, but a brand new character. That wasn't the case. What we do get here is, again, a double dipping of the exact same figure. And I mean, like, head to toe, it's the same Batman that we got before, except this one comes with a guitar. Is that enough to really pick this figure up again? The tease is in the fact that this Batman had to be part of a Build-A-Figure wave. If he was just on his own, then you could argue the point that the figure was a variant. And variants are fine and good, and I know people that like variant figures tend to pick up every different version of him. So if they were to release just Dark Knight's Death Metal Batman with a guitar, that version, or a scythe, that version, then yes, people probably would be picking up both of the figures and probably still keeping them sealed. But to put one already out and just as a collector assuming that that's the only time that we're ever going to get that figure, yeah, I wanted to pick up the Dark Knight's Death Metal Batman. But now to see that we're getting him again, and not that far after the one that we had already gotten, and to be part of a Build-A-Figure wave where you had to buy the figure in order to complete Darkfather, I say that's blasphemy. And they really should have done something different other than just giving him a different accessory. If it meant changing the paint just a little bit different on his body or on his face, I mean, even if you look at the back of the packaging here, he doesn't have any of that 5 o'clock shadow on his face. That would be more than enough. Just if this one was clean shaven, and the original Dark Knight's Death Metal Batman had the stubble on his face, then yes, I would say, okay, it's enough of a different figure that at least I can put the two side to side, and anybody that's asking me, hey, why did you buy 2 of the same figure? I could at least say, well, if you look a little closer, do you want me to clean off your glasses? You could see that one has the stubble, one doesn't have the stubble, and then the friend would still say, I don't get why you would buy the exact same figure again. That at least would justify why to release this guy again. He should have really been a variant. He should have never been packed as part of a wave to build a figure. And again, that's the lure that draws you in, because you can either build Darkfather and get a duplicate of the exact same figure, or you could decide not to get this particular Batman and have a Darkfather that has no legs. And nobody wants a Darkfather with no legs. What do you guys think of Batman Dark Knight's Death Metal Batman getting released a second time around? And not that far from the first time that we got this figure. Let me know, though. Weigh in your opinions down below in the comments section. If you're also new to this channel, enjoying all the content you're seeing, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below and turn the bell notification on. And yes, make sure you're coming back to this channel regularly, because not only are we going to be finishing off the rest of Darkfather, which will at least consist of 2 brand new figures, the Superman and the Wonder Woman. I'm looking forward to getting those opened up and on display. But we all are also going to be looking at some other stuff as well, so making sure you're keeping your peepers peeled to this channel. And as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.